Under the sea, under the sea. Darling, it's better down where it's wet until monsters reach your face. Yes, you'll decompress in a suit, and then the monsters will eat your boot as well as your foot, and then all your leg, yes, under the sea. Uh, and they get flagged for recording. Yeah, Underwater, this is the first legitimate movie of 2020 that I'm seeing. And you know what? For the first movie of the year, for a January movie, and for a horror movie, which, by the way, did not have it didn't have a huge budget, like it didn't have like a 100 some odd $1 million budget, but I had like a $60 million budget. That's a sizable budget. Trust me, it's no Doolittle, which when that comes out, we'll talk about how much of a budget they put into that. But yeah, for all that, me and Carrie had a really good time. Is it a perfect movie? No. Could I point out some flaws? Definitely, and I probably will go into that. But on the whole, if you are looking for a claustrophobic, uncomfortable in points, underwater creature feature type movie, in the vein of something like a Deep Star 6, a Leviathan, I know there's other ones too that I just have never really gotten around to watching, then you will like this movie. Me and Carrie have ultimately liked this movie quite a bit. It's both my worst and favorite movie of the year so far. Which reminds me, I still got to do my top 10 best movies in 2019. Probably tomorrow, because I got the weekend off. So, yeah, look forward to that at some point this weekend. My top 10 best. But, I mean, right off the bat, I give this movie complete credit. They don't waste time getting into the plot of this movie. Like, literally, we spend, I don't know, 3 minutes with Kristen Stewart brushing your teeth, and then that scene you see in the trailer where the entire thing starts decompressing and imploding on itself happens. And like, okay, no, they're not wasting any time on this. And you know what? I respect them for that, because that's honestly what you're here to see. Although, I will say this, because I watched a review with Brad and Doug. Brad Jones, Doug Walker, Statue Cinema Stop, because Brad has his own channel, he does reviews, all that stuff. I was watching their review on it, and they did make a good point where, excuse me, I can't get the crap off my glass at the moment. They made a good point in that, yeah, they respected that, and I respect it, and it doesn't bother me as much, but I understand the point. You don't really get to know any of these characters at all. At best, you get to know a little bit about, I think, the captain, and Kristen Stewart does give a little bit of her backstory, too. The other three, T.J. Miller, Cobb, oh, God, I can think of, remember the character's name, Emily? But let me get the actual, she played Colleen in Iron Fist. And she's like one of the few good things on that show. That show's not a very good show. Underwater. Just getting the cast list up here. Give me 1 second. That way I have a reference point. Always good to have a reference point. Now, luckily the cast is hardly anything. Okay, what's her name? Jessica Henwick. Okay, that's her name. All right. So Jessica Henwick, T.J. Miller, obviously, and John Gallagher Jr. That's who it was. All right. And then there's one other guy. I'm stereotyping, literally from the 80s. Black guy dies first. Yeah. So I gotta completely understand anyone who didn't like the movie or didn't like that fact that we never get to know these people, because that's a fair criticism. That's a fair point, because to be more invested, you should care something about these characters. And for what it's worth, I did. I'm like, all right, I would like to see these people get out of the situation. I know most of them aren't, but I like to see it. Me and Carrie actually had a bet going into the movie on who was going to come out, who was going to make it out alive. I'm not going to say how it ultimately, I won't spoil that, who lives, who dies. My money was on no one. Her money was on 2 people. And I won't say who won or dies. I'll say this. There was kind of a middle ground between us, and that's on the bet. But right off the bat, I mean, it's shot really well. It's shot very, like, claustrophobic, like, in many spots. There's scenes where they have to squeeze through, like, tight spaces, and it's claustrophobic. I'm not claustrophobic, but it's claustrophobic. And then you get into the scenes where they have to go out into the inky black abyss of the Marianas Trench, and that just feeling of, it's like being in outer space. You're in a world. They make a point of saying, it's like, we're not supposed to be down here. Like we are not supposed to be here. It's like, yeah, no, we are not biologically designed to be down that far. So whatever lives down there that far, if for some reason there is like giant carnivorous monsters down that far, they never come up here clearly, because they're evolved to be down there. But if we go down there, we're fair pickings to them because we're not supposed to be there. And you know what? Going on to monsters, we see a couple. There's like more than one type of monster, because it technically they briefly touch on this, and that will, when I done talking about the monsters, that's something I'll touch on where it is a bit of a weak point in the movie. But they touch on that they hit a thermal pocket, and basically that was clearly an ecosystem that people generally weren't, or that was kind of cut off, more or less. And that's where these things more or less came from. And like when we see them, we don't ever really get any solid look. Like we get glimpses of them. We get one or two decent shots like that linger a bit longer than average, but we never get a real like, okay, this thing is all lit up. It's standing there staring you down for a few 20 seconds, so we can really just see it. No, they're almost always moving around. It's dark down there. But what we do see, I'm like, all right. I mean, look, is it a wholly original design? No, it's you see a little bit in trailers, so it's nothing spoilery. It's a little humanoid-esque. Honestly, I heard some people compare it to the Cloverfield monster. Not entirely off basis with that, but they do some things differently. Like it does a thing when its mouth that's, all right, that's kind of freaky, especially if that were happening to you. We see like a little baby one at one point, but I won't say what we see, but there's as Qui-Gon would put it, there's always a bigger fish. I'll put it this way. I made a joke near the end when this creature was coming up. When we realized, oh, we're going this way, I was like, come on, everyone loves Cthulhu. And then she lights a flare, and we say a tentacle each chin. I'm like, I was just joking. Nah, it's not Cthulhu. Though I really wouldn't be surprised if you asked the people who worked on this film, what was your design, inspiration for this? Cthulhu. There is a tentacle jinn involved on that thing. That's all I'll pretty much say on that. But going back to what I kind of talked about with the thermal pocket thing, that is a weakness of the film. It's not, I wouldn't say it's a bad script, but it's a dated script. Like, this entire movie is something that would have come out more in the late 80s to mid 90s, maybe early 2000s. Now that being said, with the technology then, I would have actually been interested to see how much of this they would try to do practically. Because I mean, look, can you get down to the Marianas Trench and film a movie down there? No, although we did see that James Cameron did the Titanic documentary, so anything's possible. What I would imagine you'd try to do instead is digitally like darken up, like, I don't know, get like a swimming pool or something like that, and film down there. I don't know. Yeah, honestly, rent out a pool. Dye it like near black. I mean, the water's clearly not black. It's just there's no sunlight in there. So no, take the lights off and shoot there. There's ways you can get around that. And let's be clear, while the effects weren't perfect by any stretch of the means back then, they're better than we give them credit for. I mean, look at The Abyss, for example. So this would not have been an impossible movie by any stretch of the means back in those times. Back when, Jesus Christ, that's 20 years. That's over 20 years ago. Wow. Back then. So, I say that because, yeah, they don't explain a lot. Like, they'll give you nuggets of little information here or there, but nothing that's concrete. Like, there's an implication that the captain knew about the creatures, but that's just an implication. They never truly say if he did or not. And like, okay, did he? All right, well, guess we're not going to learn that. They never actually explain much about beyond the creature except a little bit. Like, you'll always get that scene of them examining the body of the creature, and when they like kill the little young one, yeah, they examine it a little bit for literally like 15-20 seconds. Like, okay. See, what I usually like about a creature feature usually is, yes, we don't understand a lot, and sometimes that plays to an advantage of the movie, and it definitely helps in this. It's definitely not bad. Yeah, but at the same time, like, Tremors is a perfect example of this, where throughout the movie, we're continuously learning more about the creature. And in this, we just get these, okay, they're creepy, they're clearly have an advantage over us in this environment, but it's not helping. And by the way, they have to walk like God knows how far to get to a certain spot in the movie. That's why you see them walking in the ocean floor. They're, like, at one point, they're not even attacked. Like, where are these things most of the time? Like, we kind of see where they are most of the time, and yet other times there's just like one or two just hanging around. So, what? Why? Yes, no, maybe so. I'll say this. I did actually predict at least part of the ending. How, like, not necessarily who lived and who died, but how they were going to kind of get out of the scenario. And so I kind of called that, so I get a little props for that. T.J. Miller, doing the best he can with the script he's given. He legitimately got laughs out of me and Carrie. Like, it was a realistic type of asshole humor. Like, they even said, like, yeah, he was my favorite asshole. Like, he's cracking jokes, but it's clear he's nervous. Like, he's scared shitless in this scenario right now, like anyone naturally would be. So it was a natural type of humor that was coming out of him. And I definitely respected him for that. I mean, I don't say what you will about him as a person. T.J. Miller's a funny dude, okay? Stand up, his movie Deadpool, all that stuff. So he is definitely a funny dude. Whether or not you like him as a person, that's up to you. Ultimately, I can't say I hated them. I liked the movie. I liked the movie quite a bit. Is it going to probably be in my top 10 by the end of the year? Most likely not. I mean, it's only the first movie out of God knows how many I'm seeing this year. So if this movie hangs in, that's the thing I should really think about. Does the first movie I see at the beginning of the year ever make it to the top 10? Or the top of either of them, not for that matter. Now, it won't be in my top 10 worst unless I see such great movies this year that it's just got to be there. We'll see what happens with that. But I recommend it. If you like creature features, if you like slightly throwback kind of horror movies in that regard, back to the days of something like Deep Star 6, Leviathan, trying to think of a couple more 80s, 90s, maybe Virus or something like that, with Jamie Lee. Now, granted, that one, I'll admit, that one's dumb. But still, like Virus, trying to think of if there's anything else I can think of right off the top of my head. Hell, Komodo. That's a weird one to bring up, but Komodo. So, yeah, I mean, I recommend it. I do. So, that's my thoughts on Underwater. I wanna hold it underwater. Summertime and easy. Until then, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. As those who want to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know what a review of it at some point. Ideas for who would win, Star Wars, Super Magic, what if, anything to do with the channel. Put that in the comments below as well. I'll get to that at some point. So I gotta do my who would win and my what if. So I'll be back in a little while, folks. Later.